hope is everything. And if you lose hope, that drives you into this apocalyptic type of thinking. Where are you?
I'm just north of Toronto.
Oh, okay, cool.
Nice.
Yes. I would say it's unseasonably warm here, but that's probably about 45 degrees at this time of year. So I don't know how to
Right.
translate it quite to Fahrenheit, but
Yeah, no, nor should you. Nor should you.
honestly, Ashley, Brett, it is an absolute joy to be speaking with you both today. Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Um, McVeigh is truly remarkable. What an amazing film. Um, this is obviously a story that it's funny now that we're at a place where history is stuff that I remember. Uh, it's like it's far enough away that it's not recent, but it's still very recent and feels
Mhm.
fresh. Uh,
Yeah.
what excited you for you both to be a part of this?
Um, I mean, for me, I actually got attached to the project in 2017, and we filmed it in 2023, I think. So I was on board for like 6 years, and I was five when this whole thing happened, and obviously it was a horrific thing. But when I read the script and I met with Mike, I really trusted him, um, to be able to tell this story in the best way possible. And so I kind of just leaned on him. And when I found out, Brett was on board and Alfie and Tracy Letts and Anthony Carrigan, those actors are Brett. They're just amazing. And I wanted to be part of this story with them. So, yeah.
Yeah, I remember this when this happened, and it was horrifying. And I mean, it was also very interesting, all the reasons that Ashley said once I found out that Ashley was involved, and Alfie, Tracy, Anthony, and then uh, watched Mike Ott's previous work and saw what a talented filmmaker he was, and saw that he had a definite vision of aesthetic and how to tell a story. And that he was going to be applying it to this story, this subject matter. I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was a really interesting way to tell this in like the intimate way in which it was going about it, taking a major historical event, majorly tragic historical event that's somewhat of a precursor to where we are now. Um, and taking that and really making it sort of this day in the life type of scenario and situation where you're really up close and personal with these people who are very real.
Yeah.
These are not, we're not playing archetypes here really. It's like somebody that you could see on your day to day, especially if you're living amongst these communities. And with that felt a fascinating way to zero in on the tragedy of it all and make the tragedy of it more impactful in a way.
I think you're absolutely right because a film like this, I mean, it's such a dark point in history, incredibly dark, horrifying moment in history. And yet these characters, they feel like regular people, who have taken and I think it's interesting too because we follow Timothy throughout much of this film, but for much of it, I feel like we don't get into his mind, but we witness his fall, if you will. And I was wondering, as you both were preparing for this, was there anything that surprised you about him from your preparation?
For me, for my character, she's obviously fictional, and so she doesn't really know much about what he's up to. And I think it was I was able to give Alfie his space because obviously playing this character is, very dark, and it was difficult for him. So for me, I kind of just wanted to, be there and just trust Mike with my character to bring a little bit more of like lightness and an unawareness of what was happening with him. So I didn't really prepare that much. I just knew a lot about the story, and um, I didn't have to go into a dark place like how Brett and Alfie and Anthony had to do. So I was kind of sitting on the other side, just doing my part with my scenes with Alfie. And yeah.
Yeah, I it surprised me, in my preparation, learning about McVeigh and learning about Terry Nichols. It very much surprised me just how deep the network that they were a part of goes. And that was, I mean, I knew it, but once you start to really research that, it was just like, oh wow, this is vast. Like this is amongst us. This is, like many things sort of in the underbelly of society. And it's pretty vast, and there's a lot of rage, and where that rage gestated from post-Vietnam War, and what how it really just has worked itself into the fabric of certain ecosystems, in the United States. And yeah, I it was definitely a very dark thing to prepare, and it required a lot of me because Terry is really physically nothing like me. So I had to really, really stay in that in a way that I mean, I really had not been required to in my previous roles before, because even though everybody I've played before is different than me, it was like he was just so, I'm not this Midwestern genteel boy in a way, which is how I sort of saw Terry, as this, and he's very beta to McVeigh's alpha. So going into that and trying to find, empathy in these people, it was wild. But yeah, the whole network of what they're a part of is what really shocked me.
Well, Brett, I love that you use the word empathy there because you're first of all, I mean, for both of you as well, but both of your performances are incredible in this film. But Brett, you're stepping into the shoes of Terry Nichols, and you're called on like this is not a cartoon villain. This is
Right.
a very real person. So, what is that like for you to step into a role like this of a very real person who has been involved in this great American tragedy?
Yeah, I felt that it was an exciting challenge. I mean, that was really also, I mean, that was really that was, to get to play this guy was just, that was really, in the end, like the last thing that was like, I have to do this movie. And it's dark. It's dark. But a lot of that comes with substitution, that you're substituting things that uh make me angry, make me sad, make me worried, that I value, and putting those thoughts and those emotions and that perspective into his, substituting his perspective. And so doing that, Terry Nichols and Timothy McVeigh thought that they were right. I mean, what they did to them was incredibly justified. Everybody who does bad things, it is justified that. Nobody's really walking around this world twisting their mustache and cackling. They all have justification for what they're doing. And so that's the big thing, uh is to enter into that, and in your own way, and find from my own life things that I can use to substitute what Terry is thinking and feeling. And so that, and that's, but but nevertheless, though, you still are aware that you're playing somebody with these thoughts and feelings, and that can certainly affect you. And it's a very dark place. I mean, these are people who are filled with rage. So when you're putting yourself into that state, and in my case too, I Terry does have remorse in this movie, and he does have second thoughts. And but it was very interesting to see where the guilt started and the justification ended, and like that balancing act and how that was happening to sort of psychologically map him throughout the movie, his relationship with Timothy and the decisions he makes.
Yeah, their relationship together is compelling on screen to watch. That dialogue back and forth, and see Terry torn, if you will. And Ashley, of course, there's Cindy. Now we know Cindy is not a historical person as far as we're aware, but with your character, I'm wondering what you think she offers to Timothy, because the relationship is interesting. She seems to be more pursuing, and he seems more standoffish. What do you think that Cindy offers to him?
I think with Cindy and Timothy, it was just kind of showing his softer side, if you will, and showing that he is human and that he wants a human connection. And he's obviously a very standoffish person, and I think she was just very curious about him. I think that she found him very interesting, and there are a lot of very silent moments between the two of them, and him just kind of analyzing her, and Cindy analyzing him. And I just feel like they just had this weird connection, and Mike really allowed us to improv a lot of our stuff together, and he gave us the time and space. Like a lot of the stuff in the trailer with the dancing and that little moment there, he just gave us a space to just kind of play around. And again, just being so unaware of his motives and who he really was, it was hard. I think she was just trying to see who he really was. And I think it was just finding connection with him.
And as you said there so well, it makes him human.
Yeah.
And we watch this young man who is broken, at the start of the film, is broken. And as we go on, and there's a very interesting moment, bear with me. They're in the strip club, and they're talking. They say to the woman, they say, "Well, what do you think it would take to be? Who would be the guy that brings you home? Who would be the guy to succeed?" And she says, "I think the one brave enough to try." And I think it's an interesting moment because there's sort of the subtext of, again, like taking a darker turn, as well, with his character and where history goes. But I would ask you both, we have a character who I can see, or I believe, has completely lost hope for any better way in this film. He's completely given up on hope. And my question for you both was, what do you think we lose when hope is gone?
Oh, hope is everything. And if you lose hope, that drives you into this apocalyptic type of thinking that then turns you into essentially a nihilist. And if you're isolated in the way that these characters are. I mean, literally, like, physically isolated. There's not like, I thought Mike, really brilliantly captures many things in this movie, but that, the essence of that, and that's sort of like a theme that goes through Mike's work, is isolation, is this vastness. You feel like every character is surrounded by miles of nothing. And that isolation, yeah, you have no contradicting reality to offset those apocalyptic thoughts in your mind. But then that turns into nihilism. And how do you fill in that hole if you've lost all hope? Well, violence can be something that takes the place of that. And when you're given something that's extreme in the midst of feeling that isolated and that hopeless, then you have that massive thing. It's easy to jump on board something like that that's going to fill that hole. So with some people, that's drugs, and some people, unfortunately, that's a dogmatic, violent diatribe. Anything to feel belonging. I think like hopelessness is a lack of belonging to some degree. And so the tragedy is, in this violence and in this bigotry, you find some sort of belonging, which then gives you some sort of mirage version of hope.
I agree with what Brett said.
Is that gobbledygook?
Well,
That makes sense.
that was incredible. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
I'm reflecting on it.
Paranoid.
I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. No, that's wonderful.
No, I mean, that's the thing, that's how you humanize these people, and yeah, it is a reflection of where everybody in a way is at today. We all can easily become isolated through technology today. I mean, not to get cheesy, but there is this feeling of isolation, and I think that's what's driving a lot of people to many extreme behavior and thought in both directions, on both sides.
Absolutely. Honestly, thank you both. We're out of time, but this is a really powerful film, and I really appreciate the chance to chat with you about it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks. Have a great one. It was great talking to you.
Great talking to you too.